Well, hello there. Happy Tip Tuesday. Welcome to Summer Sweet Shop Tip Tuesday. I'm excited that you're here. We are going to learn some winter theme cookies today. We've got a snowflake here that we're going to be decorating, as well as a little snow hat. So I'm excited for you to be along on this journey, and we're going to get started. And I've got my handy dandy scribe here. These are one of the tools that you want to catch and have on hand. I just launched these actually over on my website at summersweetshop.com, but you can get your scribe if you want, just for your own. These are handmade, and they are silicone beads, so they're nice and like soft and rubbery, so they feel really, really nice in your hand, and they're just like the perfect size for moving your icing around and all the things that we use our scribe for. But you can get one on my website. But let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you what we're going to do first. We got our snowflake here, and we are first going to start off with our outline icing and our pink, along with our flood icing in the pink as well. So your outline is going to be like a toothpaste consistency, while your flood icing is like maple syrup consistency. So let's go ahead and get started on our snowflake. So I'm going to hold my bag like so. I've got my turntable here, so it makes it easier just to move it around so that I can get to each side of the cookie easily. And we are going to start squeezing and start outlining our snowflake here. So you'll notice that I'm not right on top of the cookie with the icing. I've kind of pulled up, and I'm just following around the lines. So feel free to stop anywhere and pick right back up where you left off. So totally okay. And I'm just kind of letting that icing fall right where I want it to go. So we just come around here and back there. Okay, so now we're gonna grab our flood icing here. And I like to do a little, a lot of people ask, why do I start in the middle? I like to just see how fast and how quickly the icing is coming out. I want to make sure it's not coming out too fast, but I kind of want to just like gauge it and see how fast it's coming out. So once I've done that, I just come over here to the edge and just start filling in, working from the outside in towards the middle. And again, this is where your little turntable comes in major handy. So if I'm filling the outside and working my way in, it's less work that I have to do with my scribe and go back to do. And that's what I like. So I'm just going to take my scribe and just move my icing around. I want to make sure I get all those holes, that I don't leave any out. All right, so once you've done this and you've flooded your snowflakes are great because you can use them for Christmas, you can use them for winter, you can use them for a variety of different things, for birthdays with the winter themes. They are fantastic. But once you finish flooding it, you want to put it in front of your fan for about 20 minutes or so and let your icing start to crust over. All right, so this one has been drying for about that amount of time. So I'm going to grab my white outline icing that I'm going to use for the details of the snowflake. So first, I'm going to start, and I'm going to squeeze a dot right here and then pull straight across while squeezing to the other side. So make sure you're squeezing as you go across, because you want to make sure you apply enough pressure that you don't have any breaks in your icing, because you're kind of going a good distance. And you want to go in as much of a straight line as you can and have them intersect all in the middle. So I'm doing like the little dots here on the end, and all I'm doing is squeezing for a few seconds and then pulling across. And that just kind of gives that little detail there. So now you're going to start here. I'm just going to pull down. I'm just going to squeeze that dot and pull down. So I'm still squeezing when I'm pulling down, but not as hard. So it just kind of depends on how thick your outline icing is, of how much you want to squeeze. So I'm just going to use my scribe here to make that line just a little straight, as well as that one. And I'm just going to squeeze and squeeze. And so I'm squeezing and then pulling down towards that line. And this is where your turntable definitely comes in handy, because you can just move it around without having to move your cookie or risk touching it and bumping it. All right. So now that you've got each of the corners done, or each of the sides, don't know what you call them, you're going to just fill in right here in the middle. I like to do just like a big one here. And then I'm going to do a dot right here because it just looks like it needs something there. So that's what we're going to do right there. And I'm just going to squish that down with my scribe. So there you go. So there's your cute little snowflake. Super cute, super fun, and festive. Now let's move to our snow hat. So we are going to do pink as well for this. So I'm going to grab my outline, and we're going to do the bottom portion here of the hat, and then we'll move on to the top of the hat. And I'm just going to outline here. If you need a line to go by, you can use your scribe just to make a little mark here of where you want it to go. And that just kind of gives you a guide where you want your icing to go. And then I'm going to take my Flood pink icing, and I'm just going to fill it in very nicely, working from the outside in. All right. All right, so you're going to let this dry again for about 10 or 15 minutes in front of a fan before you move on to the next step. This one's been drying, so I'm going to go ahead and grab it and show you what we're going to do for a fun marbling technique that we'll do on the top of the hat. So I'm going to grab my outline pink icing again, and all I'm going to do is draw the top portion of the hat, and we'll pretend like there's a line right there. And so I use my outline for that. And then I'm going to flood with my pink flood icing, but then I'm going to grab my blue flood icing as well as my white flood icing. These are both flood, and they're both about maple syrup consistency. So let's grab our pink flood and go ahead and fill this one in with our pink flood icing. And you don't want to fill it up too much, and because it could overflow once you add in your lines for the marbling technique. So just be careful of that you don't fill it up too much, because it could easily overflow, and you don't want that to happen. Okay, now I'm going to grab my blue icing first, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to make some lines straight across for the hat. So it doesn't matter how many you do, just try and get straight lines as much as possible. I kind of move my whole hand across when I do this so that I have a straight line as much as possible, and try not to move. I'm not moving my hand like this, I'm just moving it straight across. Now I'm going to grab my whites, and I'm going to move it straight across. And it's okay if your lines are not exactly straight, because, as you'll see in a minute, we're going to fix that. So you could totally leave it like this and it would be super cute, but we're going to take our scribe, and you're going to draw a line with your scribe all the way down the middle, like so. And then we're going to take our scribe and go over on this side from top to bottom, and then from here. So I'm touching the cookie on the bottom, when I do this. So now now that we did from top to bottom, we're gonna do from bottom to top in between the two lines that we just did. So you've got your one line there, and then your other line there. All right, so you just wanna make sure that you don't pull your scribe all the way through and disturb the outside outline that you just did with your pink. So just make sure you don't go all the way through the edge. Okay, so now we're gonna do the top portion of the hat, and I'm just gonna take my white and I'm gonna outline here the outside of this little pom-pom hat. And I'm just going to fill it in with my flood icing, just moving it all around, working my way to the middle. And just remember, you don't want to fill it up too much because you're going to add in some sprinkles. So here I've got some sanding sugar. I believe I got this at Hobby Lobby, white sanding sugar. This one is pretty fine, but you can get some that's a little bit more coarser if that's what you desire. But I'm just going to sprinkle this right on top. You want to make sure you do this when your icing is wet, or it will not stick to your icing. So you got to do it pretty quickly after you've flooded your little pom-pom here in the top of your hat. All right, so then you just shake off the excess, and there you have your cute little hat. So we have our hat, and we have our snowflake. So there you have it, guys. Those are my tips for some fun winter cookies. Thanks for joining me for this Tip Tuesday. Hopefully that was helpful and gave you some good ideas of what you can do for to beat these winter days. But remember, you can go to my website and purchase your own little cookie scribe that actually matches the colors that we used today. Isn't that fun? But hopefully this was helpful, and I can't wait to see you next week, guys. Have a good one.